Here's a story. You grow up watching your dad abuse your mom at least once a week. One day, she tells him she had enough and she's leaving. Shortly after, he grabs a knife and stabs her 5 times. You climb on top of your mom to protect her, and now he tries to stab you. But the blade of the knife broke off into your mom. You hold her close as she takes her last breath and dies in your arms. You lose not one, but 2 parents the day before Christmas Eve. Trappin Anonymous.
Every Sunday, he used to get drunk and just hit her. So I told her that I know she was tired. I was like, I know you're tired. You can go. I'm gonna take care of my little brother. I promise I'm gonna take care of him. That she could go.
With no further ado, I would like to introduce my next guest, my final guest for the night, Miss Kimberly Hernandez. Yeah. What's good? My name is Chris Dallas, Trappin Anonymous. Welcome back, welcome back. Shout out to everybody that's helping keep the movement moving. We really do appreciate you. We are here in Brooklyn at the live show, and I couldn't be more excited for the guests that I have today. Just excited that we're able to do this. Excited that we're able to change so many lives and be heard all across the world. The support has been indescribable. It really has. I really do thank my guests for being here. Do remember that the stories that you hear reflect real life. They're here to educate, they're here to inform, and hopefully keep your little homie off the streets. My name is Chris Dallas, Trappin Anonymous. Let's get it. How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay. Like I start every interview, your name and why your story is important.
My name is Kim. I'm really nervous. I don't really know what to say about why my story is important, but I feel like it's time for me to speak about it because this is my first time talking about it and it's gonna be tough. So I feel like it's just time. So they will know why it's important to talk about it.
Okay, let's jump right into it. Bring me to the scariest day of your life.
December 22nd, 2013, 8:34 p.m. My dad, he was drunk and he killed my mother. He wanted to kill me and my siblings, but he only got to kill my mother. And my mom died on top of me. He stabbed her to death.
You got this. You got this.
I've never spoken about this because I couldn't. I don't really know what to say. You ask me the questions and I'll tell you.
Okay. So, if you could sort of paint the picture. You come home or your mom is already home. Were they fighting that day? Was there like arguing going on?
Okay. So, my mom had went out. My dad also went out. But my dad came back home and he was pissed off. He went to his room and he started acting weird. Then I told my mom that my dad was acting weird. She came home and she went to her room and he was under the bed and he stabbed her. I was in my room and I heard she had a lot of perfumes on top of her dresser, and that's all I heard, the perfumes moving. So I went to the room, and my mom was already like on the floor, like leaning like that. So I held her, and I was like, "What's wrong? Are you okay? Are you okay?" She was not responding at all. And then he started hitting her. So I'm like, "Why are you hitting her?" So then I saw that he had the knife, the black piece of the knife, not the blade, the handle. And he started, like, he wanted to stab me too, but there was no knife. So he was just hitting her and hitting me. Then my mom started bleeding to death. The whole room was full of blood, and I didn't know where the blood was coming from. He looked down, and his eyes they were just dark, and he was like, "It's done, it's over." Then he came back to himself, and he was asking me like, "What did I do? What did I do? What did I do?" And I was really scared, so I called my brother and I told him to call the police, because she was already bleeding. Like, there was so much blood all over. My little brother, so I have two brothers. One was 7 at the time, and the other one was 17. And I didn't want them to see that. My brother, my 17-year-old brother, he actually got my dad out of the room. And I stood there and I locked myself in the room with my mom, and she was just bleeding. And then she started bleeding from her nose, her mouth, her ears. And then I picked her up, and the back of her skin in the back was hanging. It was like, I didn't know what to do. So I just held her, and I put her on top of me, and I told her that everything was gonna be okay. So my dad was really abusive. He used to hit her a lot. Every Sunday he used to get drunk and just hit her. So I told her that I know she was tired. I was like, "I know you're tired. You can go. I'm gonna take care of my little brother. I promise I'm gonna take care of him." That she could go. And that's when her body got really light. And that's when she passed away. I knew she was gone. Then my brothers and my brother's girlfriend, they were outside, they were calling the ambulance. They came and they like took all her clothes off. And they said, they were like, "Oh, there's no pulse, there's no pulse." They just like rushed her to the hospital. They put her in the ambulance, and they just left with the door open and everything. And I was all bloody, and I just ran after the ambulance. And I was just there waiting and waiting and waiting. And then they told me that she didn't make it. So my dad stabbed her 5 times in the heart, right here, in her back, but the one that killed her was the heart. It went, like, he knew where to stab her. She wasn't gonna make it. That's what happened December 22nd, 2013.
I remember when you and I were speaking, you told me that you had pulled the blade out because he would have killed you too if the blade didn't get stuck and lodged into your mother.
So when I picked her up, because I wanted to know where the blood was coming from, the blade was stuck in her back. I didn't know what to do. So I pulled it out because I don't know, it was like, I felt like it was hurting her. I didn't know what to do, so I just pulled it out. And that's when she started bleeding more. That's when she started bleeding from her nose, her mouth, her ears, just everywhere.
December 22nd, that's like Christmas.
Yep.
So, you know, we just know Christmas for being a time for receiving gifts, and that Christmas you lose not one parent, but both. What was that like explaining to a 7-year-old brother that you're now subsequently like responsible for?
So when we were at the precinct, he kept on asking me. So after they told me that my mom was gone, I had to go to the precinct, and my little brother was already at the precinct. And he was asking me, "Where's mommy? Where's mommy?" And I'm like, she's okay. She's in the hospital. She's okay. And I'm trying to, like, you know, talk about something else so he won't keep asking me. So then after we went home, and he had a cell phone that I had gotten him. And I checked his phone. And he had texted her so many times. He had texted her over 100 times and called her so many times. He called her over 300 times asking her, like, he was texting her like, "Mom, are you okay? Where are you? Are you okay? Are your cuts, like, I know you're cut. Are you okay? When you coming home?" So I had to tell him. So I brought him to the room, and I asked him. I was like, "Do you know what heaven means? Like, do you know what's heaven?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Do you know who goes there?" He's like, "Yeah, the angels, they go there. They live there." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's where mommy went. Mommy lives in heaven now with the angels." And he started crying.
In that same vein, it's still Christmas. You still want him to get a Christmas experience. You still want to get him gifts. You still want to make sure, forget how you're feeling. You're still trying to, how were you able to still try to give him that Christmas?
So I didn't have no money. I remember I didn't have no money. And we spent the 23rd at the DA's office. And the DA, he put me to an office. And he told me that he was like, that he couldn't believe what was going on. That it was just crazy. Mm-hmm. And he put me to the side and he told me not to tell anybody. And he gave me $300 so I could give my little brother gifts. So I went, after that, I went to Toys R Us because it was open back then. I went to Toys R Us and I got him a bike. I got him some games and stuff. And then oh my God, I still have the video. I gave him the bike and he was so happy that I gave him the bike. He was happy, but you know, after he opened the gift and we gave him the gift, that's when I had to tell him that mom was gone, because
Right.
he kept on asking about her.
Right.
Like, oh, when is she coming back? When is she coming back? So yeah, I told him after.
So we have his testimony. Do you mind if I read it?
So that he wrote that 2 years, I believe 2-3 years after. So that wasn't exactly about the night. It was you read it.
Okay, so it says Jose Hernandez Jr., January 28th, 2017. Before everything happened, I, 9 years old, I was walking home from my godmother's house. No one could find Poppy that night. And my mother's sister were the people who kept calling him. Eventually, my sister found out he left his phone in the house. We did not worry about it. I got home, I took my clothes off, and I went to my sister's room. Then we heard mom scream. I thought she was playing because she plays around sometimes and she screams. Poppy stabbed her and she was bleeding out. My sister was sitting there with my mother on top of her asking, "Mommy, can you hear me?" As she is struggling to keep her eyes open, I was so petrified that not even one tear dropped out of my eyes. My sister told me to get out of the room, so I left. I went outside where Poppy was. Poppy was saying, "It's done. It's done." My sister followed my mother in the ambulance to the hospital while my godmother and sister came to bring me to the 47th precinct. My sister eventually made it to the precinct and I ran to her. We left the precinct and my godmother brought me to her house. I don't know where my brother and sister went. It was 2 a.m. when I finally fell asleep to kick aside what was going to happen next to my brother, sister, and I. I was living with my godmother for almost 3 weeks. My sister came to see me and brought a couple of my things with her. I cried and said, "I want to go with you." Then my sister fought. She fought harder and harder when they told her the bad news. She fought for my custody. I wanted to read that and especially pause at that point because you at 21 years old fought for custody of your brother and was able to adopt him. What was that process like for you while grieving mom and dad?
That process was so hard because 6 months before my mom passed away, I ended up in a mental home because I struggled with some mental illness and I wanted to end my life. And it's crazy. I'm so glad I didn't make it. I didn't
Go through with it.
you didn't go, yeah. So the courts, they saw that. And because they saw that, they felt like I wasn't a stable parent. I wasn't a stable, somebody stable to take care of my little brother.
Right.
So they didn't want to give me his custody. So I fought and I said, no, he's not leaving with nobody else but me. And they basically said that I was his guardian first. It was like a process. I was his guardian. Then I became his foster parent, and then I became his adoptive mother. But through the whole process, they would go to my house and like at all hours. They would go to they would check, they would go to his school to check to see if he was going to school. They would go to the hospital. They would like call the hospitals to see if he was going to his appointments. It was mandatory for us to go to therapy. So they will also like ask them like, oh, are they going to therapy like because we had to go every Tuesday and Thursdays for 5 years. They were also checking that. They will follow me, and it was long because they did this almost every week.
Right. Do you hate your father?
No, I do not hate my father.
And I asked that because I wanted you to speak on forgiveness. I wanted you to speak on how a child who held her mother in her arms as she passed away from the hands of her father, how do you not still hate your father, and how did you learn to forgive your father?
Because he wasn't a bad father. He wasn't a bad person. I don't hate my dad because I just can't hate nobody. I don't judge him. I'm not God. I'm gonna leave that up to God. God is gonna handle that. And I just couldn't hate him because he was going through stuff himself. And that's a tough question because I ask myself why I don't hate him. And I don't hate him. I go see him. I send him money. They were trying to give him a longer sentence, and I begged the DA not to because I felt like my dad didn't deserve to die in jail. Like, okay, he deserves to go to jail and do the time, but I didn't want him to die in jail. And the DA, he thought that I was crazy. But he's the only parent I had. And I didn't want to lose him.
What was the sentence?
It was, they wanted to give him 25, but they lowered it to 20.
When you said that wasn't your father,
Oh, that was not my father.
explain that to people. Sometimes people don't understand that people could black out, that they could go into a rage. You said his eyes were black. Like,
His eyes were black.
you know what I mean? You knew for a fact, like, a lot of people don't believe in demons and possession and just people just losing their mind, right? And murdering out of passion or rage so if you could just speak to that.
So I know that wasn't my dad because when I looked at him, can I get up and?
Yeah.
So my mom, me and my mom were right here, and he was standing right here, and he was just looking down at us. He was like, "It's over. It's over. It's over." His eyes were just so dark, and his voice was so deep. It was different. And that's when I got really scared, and I called my brother, like, get him out of here, get him out of here. And then he was like standing like this, and then he was like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? And it was just like two different people, literally two different people. And that scared me to death. That's when I knew like evil, like really exists.
And even how in that rage, he even tried to kill you.
Yes.
But because the blade was in your mom, you survived.
Yeah.
I can't even do you ever look at that and just know that there's purpose over your life? because you did not die that day, because he would have taken your life with your mom.
Yeah.
You're laying, hugging her, on top of her, protecting her, and he still went for the kill out of his rage. But the handle, it was no blade. I don't know. That part just really sticks out to me. It's just like you were inches away from losing your life. Yeah, I just can't imagine what that was like for you. Where do you go live after? Like, you're a 21-year-old kid with a 7-year-old kid. Where do you go live? How do you go live? There's no money. There's no services for people that lose both parents. Like, there's like how like.
So when I was fighting for his custody, it was really hard, but I had somewhere to live. I was living with a friend, and I stayed there until I got his full custody. And then after that, I went into the shelter. Yeah. The shelter experience wasn't bad. I prayed a lot. When I was at the shelter, I remember I was just praying to God, like, God, please just give me a place that's nice, that's pretty, that's not, because my mom had gone to the shelter before, and she didn't like it. She said that it was really dirty, and my little brother didn't like it. He said there was a lot of roaches, and he felt really uncomfortable. And I told him, I was like, I basically lied to him. I was like, the place we're going is different. It's gonna be pretty, and if it's not clean, I'm gonna clean it, and I promise you that it's gonna be a pretty place. It's not like the place you went. And he believed me. And I told him that we're only gonna be there for 5 months. I was like, we're gonna be there for 5 months because I work, and we're gonna be okay. Don't worry. And he said okay. And then we went to the shelter. So it's crazy. Because when I was waiting for them to give me the paper that says the address where you're going, I looked it up on Google right away, and it was a pretty building. So then when we got to the building, the apartment was even prettier. It was so pretty. So he was so happy.
We have that video too.
Yeah, and oh my God. And he was dancing. He was just so happy. And that made me happy.
Yeah, I just think, like, what are we not grateful for? That's what that makes me think about. Like, what are we not grateful for? You know what I'm saying? And he is dancing, sort of rejoicing that you guys are in.
You don't know how much I thank God for listening to my prayers. He gave me exactly what I was asking for. A pretty place. I wanted my little brother to be comfortable. You know, I didn't want him to suffer anymore. And he gave me a pretty place. And my brother was just so happy.
It's like it's never really been about you. You've always been taken care of. You know, even before the passing of your mom, you were still responsible for your little brother.
Yeah.
You were like always his sort of guardian, like up under you, and you just sort of like, even till now, you know, he has like a blossoming music career. He just sold out a show in Brooklyn.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? There's yo, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, he's like, no, this is my brother. And he's like, he's big.
Yeah.
And so much of that has to be attributed to how hard you worked, you fought, and didn't put yourself first.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Do you give yourself acknowledgement? Do you give yourself any sort of like, I don't want to say praise, but in the sense of, do you realize what you were able to do?
I don't really think about it. I feel like that was my job, that I was supposed to do that. He's my brother, you know? So I just did what I promised my mom I was gonna do. You know, take care of him and make sure that he will be a happy boy. And I loved him, and he is a happy boy.
Praise God. What was the judge like to you? How was the judge? You're testifying against your dad, but asking for leniency. But how was the judge? How was that community towards you?
To be honest with you, I don't remember much. But it was tough because they didn't want to give me my brother at all. So I had to fight. That's why my brother kept saying, like, I fought, because it was every week. Every week I had to go to court for that, for custody. And I will never, they will be like, no. And I fought for 5 years. I was going to school, I was working, I was going to bring him to therapy. My life was crazy, but I never gave up. I just continued.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Where do you work now? And how did you get the job? How did you get into it?
Okay, so I graduated college. I did 7 years of med school. I was on my last year to become a psychologist. And I don't know, it was so weird because I had a switch in like a career wise out of nowhere. And one day I was doing homework and I went on LinkedIn and I applied to JetBlue. I'm like, okay. Yeah, let me just, So I'm like, yeah, I had applied to JetBlue like a couple of years prior and they turned me down. I was like, yeah, whatever. But now I have my degree because I already graduated twice. And I was like, they're not gonna turn me down now, but they did.
Hey, be like that, yeah.
I don't know what no means. And I was upset. I was like, what the hell they mean no? Mm-hmm. And I emailed everybody at JetBlue.
Talk about it. I'm guessing it was everybody.
Everybody at JetBlue. I don't even know where I found all those emails. So fast, but I found them all. So I emailed everybody and I'm arguing back and forth with I don't know who, whatever. And I was like, no, I don't like the way you guys do your interview. You guys got a robot. Like, what the hell is this? Like, no, I want my face-to-face. And she was not trying to give me the face-to-face. And I was like, y'all giving me a face-to-face. So I got the face-to-face. I got my face-to-face. So, oh my God. When it was time for me to go to the face-to-face, a week before I had graduated college, and I was thinking about my mom a lot. And I usually don't think about her at all. I forgot her. Like, I don't remember her at all. Her voice, nothing. But I was just thinking about her, and I was sitting down, I remember, and at graduation, and I'm like, why am I even here? Like, nobody's here to take pictures of me. Nobody's here to see me walk. And I just got up and I left. And I was thinking of my mom. I was just like, I hope you're proud of me and stuff. And I never think about my mom, but she was heavy on my mind. So, whatever, I left. And then the whole JetBlue thing came. I had to go to the face-to-face. So when I get to the JetBlue University, I got there at 7:30, and there was this lady. She was inside, and when I went inside, she greeted me, and she, this is crazy. She looked just like my mom. Just like my mom, and it creeped me out. So she was Dominican. And then she was like, you're so pretty, you're best dressed. And I don't even have to see the rest of the people. I had a really nice dress and I look like Wednesday. She was like, you look like Wednesday, you're so cute, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, thank you. And we just became it was so natural. Mm-hmm. And then we just continued to talk, and she called me while my mom would call me. Like, I was like, this is just getting creepier and creepier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she called me, my mom would call me maldita loca, that's a fucking crazy bitch, you know? And she called me that, and I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is crazy. So, the whole thing, the whole process, she was there. Like, she was there through the whole process. We had to do a couple of things to pass in order, you know, to continue with the process. And then the last step was that the face-to-face again, which was the stupid robot that I failed. And, you know, and I was like, God damn, this shit again. Like, so when I get to it was a big room, and it was about 40 people interviewing the people. It was about 200 of us. Mm-hmm. So when I go in there, the same lady that's been following me the whole time, that looked like my mom, she was the one interviewing me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yes, the same girl. Because now I felt comfortable with her. So then she goes, oh, let me get your resume, because I have so many papers here. And I'm like, okay. So I give her my resume. And she's like, Kim? I'm like, yeah. She's like, do you know who I am? And I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to know who you are? She's like, I'm the one you was arguing with through email. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, should I leave? Like, you want me to just walk out? She was like, no, I'm gonna give you the job, because in 8 years of my life, I've never met nobody so intense like you, sis, wow. Okay? You was blowing up my email every day, okay? Like, you was driving me crazy. So I'm gonna give you this job. And she gave me so basically, like, if you wanna apply to certain things, like if I'm bilingual, you have to apply for it. Like, you just don't, you know? So she put me in every program. She was like, you're gonna get the job, and I'm gonna give you extra work. So now I'm literally on everything. Like, I have no free, like, listen, I'm a slave. She was like, I'm gonna give you the job because you want this job so bad. But what was so crazy to me was that I was scared when she told me who she was, right? And she didn't even ask me the questions that she needed to ask me. She literally answered the questions herself. And the whole time when we're just talking, and I just knew that it was my mom. So after that, it was really creepy to me. Like, the whole thing was just creepy, because I wasn't supposed to get that job. The job, like, I wanted to finish school, you know? And this JetBlue thing just happened out of nowhere. So I left, whatever. And it was heavy on my mind. Like, it creeped me out a lot. And it took me 2 weeks to actually talk about it. And I called my aunt in the Dominican Republic, and I'm like, Tia, let me tell you what happened. Like, I went to the interview with JetBlue or whatever, and the lady looked just like mommy. So I'm telling her the whole story, and she's not saying a word. So when I was done, she was like, all right, you want me to tell you what's even crazier? And she was like, I'm gonna tell you why this is crazy, and don't cry. And I'm like, okay. She's like, your mom was pregnant, and she started the training to become a flight attendant. But she couldn't continue because she was pregnant with you.
Wow.
So she had to drop the training.
Wow.
But my mom's dream was to become a flight attendant. Her uncle paid for the training because her uncle is a pilot. And my mom couldn't continue to do, she couldn't continue. So because of me. Wow. So I felt like that was her showing me that she's there with me.
Of course.
And I'm like living my mom's dream. Everything just came out of nowhere.
Right.
My friends are right here. They can tell you I was in school for like forever. Okay?
Right.
Forever.
Years and years.
And the whole JetBlue came out of nowhere. And then I went MIA because, I'm supposed to like graduate as a doctor. That's what they're expecting,
School, yeah.
And then I come and I post a picture in a JetBlue uniform.
Type of med school is this?
I was
right?
like, surprised. I'm a
Right.
flight attendant. Everybody was like, what the hell?
Wow.
Yeah, so it was really crazy. And that right there made me think of the day of graduation that I was thinking about her. And I was like, saying to myself, like, I wonder, like, what would she be saying if she was here, if she's like proud of me and stuff. And I will usually smell my mom when I will be really stressed. But that time, it was like she showed herself because the lady looked just like her. Everything was just like, it was just too crazy. The way she treated me, the lady told me I'm fucking crazy, like, it was just, that was my mom.
It's crazy because I remember you told me you had such a bond with your mother. Y'all were very close.
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't like, oh, me and my mother had an
My
estranged
mom was
relationship.
my best friend.
But all of your memories of her left you.
Yeah, I don't remember nothing. Nothing. I don't remember her face. I don't remember her voice. I have absolutely no memories of her.
It's just so interesting to me how the mind protects itself with suppressing just different memories and traumatic experiences. And it's just so interesting how that works. Your mother had posted on Facebook like 6 months prior.
That she was gonna die.
They took a picture that night of her death.
In the same place she died.
I don't, life is just so weird like that to me personally. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand it, but in sort of like that weirdness, I know that there are these parallels that you're finding with this lady and your mom, and she's doing, you're doing exactly what your mother was gonna do when she was pregnant with you. So it's just like, all of that stuff is alignment in my mind, right? Like all of that stuff is not an accident, right? This was divine, right? This is not, oh, we got lucky. No, like it was purpose, and it still is purpose over your life. If you could go back and tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
I don't know.
If there was anything that you could change, what would it be?
Nothing.
This is Trappin Anonymous. My name is Chris Dowes. Let's get it. Wow, that was so amazing. It's over. Wow, one more round of applause for them, y'all. That was. I thought we was gonna have to take breaks. We didn't take no breaks. You did it, girl. You did it. You did it.
I got a question for you in the back right here.
Talk to me.
Raise my hand.
Okay.
I flew all the way out here from Chicago.